Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, distinguished postgraduate students, esteemed organizational executives, valued colleagues, and friends. You are warmly welcome to Lecture 5 of the Research Methods Across Disciplines lecture series. The next two slides provide relevant social media links for the lecture series and information about the series lecturer, Professor Linus Osuagwu. I am Linus Osuagwu, PhD valedictorian, full professor of marketing at Veritas University, Abuja in Nigeria. Former chair of the Institutional Review Board at the American University of Nigeria, Yola, and former pioneer vice chancellor of a university in Nigeria. I bring to this lecture series over 3 decades of experience in teaching, research, and university leadership. I've also had the privilege of building academic institutions from the ground up, working as group head at Research International Lagos in Nigeria, and supervising many postgraduate students in Nigeria, South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Afghanistan, among others, thereby giving me first-hand experience of the issues and challenges we discuss in today's lecture. Recall that in Lecture 4 we explored the challenges of conducting research in the Global South context. Today, in Lecture 5, we will focus on problem formulation and systematic literature review. By the end of this lecture, you will be able to formulate a clear research question and conduct a systematic literature review that identifies the gap your research will fill. So, let us continue our research journey. Stay curious, stay methodologically rigorous and flexible, and stay contextually relevant. Let's begin. Enjoy. This slide shows the research methods across disciplines, a comprehensive lecture series for postgraduate students and organizational executives. You have information about me, my institutional affiliation and department, my email addresses, my LinkedIn profile link, my Google Scholar profile link, and the YouTube channel link for the entire lecture series. This slide shows my profile. It shows my academic background, shows my research interests. It shows my LinkedIn profile link. It shows my Google Scholar profile link and my current contact and institutional affiliation. Welcome again to Lecture 5. Today we are moving into the heart of research, that is research problem formulation and literature review. Research problem is the heart of research because every other thing in research is a function of the research problem. By the end of this lecture, you'll be able to formulate answerable research questions using PICo, Spider, and PO frameworks. You'll also be able to distinguish systematic literature reviews in research from narrative, scoping, and rapid literature reviews. We are able to navigate the PRISMA 2020 guidelines for systematic literature review, conduct, and reporting. Also, you will conduct systematic searching, screening, selection, and data extraction. In addition, you will identify empirical, theoretical, methodological, and contextual research gaps. The lecture we are presenting today is grounded in relevant literature, which is shown on the next slide. The literature for today is categorized into literature dealing with research question frameworks, literature review types and reporting standards, searching, appraisal and synthesis, research gaps and global south context, among others. We've also provided comprehensive references at the end of this lecture. We want to make a key takeaway at this time, and that is that a well-formulated research question saves substantial percentage of the cost of poorly formulated one. Let's give a self-assessment check for now. Can you formulate a clear research question for your project in your discipline? Research question matters because clear research question formulation is the strongest predictor of a searchable, answerable literature review. Why formulation of research question matters? This is because a well-formulated research question determines your entire research design. Poor formulation leads to vague objectives, misaligned research methods, and weak contributions to knowledge. We discussed major frameworks for research question formulation, and these include: number 1, PICo, PICo. PICo framework is used for quantitative intervention research questions, such as population, and we have the question, who are the participants? Intervention, the question is, what is being studied? Comparison, the question is, what is the comparison? Outcome, the question is, what is the outcome? Let's give an example here. In smallholder farmers in sub-Saharan Africa, which is a P, does access to mobile money, which is I, compared to no access, which is C, increase agricultural productivity, which is O. Just use this example to explain PICo, one of the frameworks for research question formulation. Let's give origin. PICo was introduced by Richardson et al. 1995 for evidence-based questions. The mobile money example used here reflects the work of Suri and Jack, 2016. The other one is PICo, PIC small o. PICo framework is used for qualitative research questions such as population, who are the research participants? Interest, what is the phenomenon of research interest? Context, what is the research context or setting? It should be noted that PICo is the JBI qualitative research variant, explained in the next slide. Example, what are the experiences I of female small business entrepreneurs P in Lagos informal economy CO? JBI qualitative refers to the Joanna Briggs Institute, JBI, gold standard methodology for synthesizing qualitative evidence to inform healthcare practice and policy. Its defining approach, data aggregation, pulls study findings into practice-ready statements without reinterpreting the original authors. A JBR qualitative systematic literature review moves through the following 5 steps. Number 1, develop a focused research question using PICo. For example, population, phenomenon of interest, and context, as explained previously. Number 2, you run a comprehensive systematic search of relevant literature. Number 3, critically appraise study quality with the JBI checklist using query. Note, JBI's query stands for the Joanna Briggs Institute Qualitative Assessment and Review Instrument. Tools used for appraising, extracting, and synthesizing qualitative research. Number 4 in the steps. Extract the research findings from each included study. And number 5, aggregate the research findings into categories, then synthesize the research findings. Great confidence in each with CONQUAL. CONQUAL is a standardized system developed by Joanna Briggs Institute to rate confidence in the findings of qualitative systematic literature review. Let's give a global South example. Kumalo et al. 2021 synthesized qualitative studies on community health workers delivering HIV services across sub-Saharan Africa, turning frontline experiences into policy-ready recommendations for overstretched health systems. Number 3 framework is SPIDER. SPIDER framework is used for qualitative and mixed method research questions such as sample. Who are the research participants? Phenomenon of research interest. What issue are you exploring or researching? Design. What research design is relevant? Evaluation. What outcome? Research type. Qualitative or is it qualitative or mixed? Let's give an example. Small and medium enterprises owners in Nairobi, S. Perceptions of digital transformation, P. Semi-structured interviews, D. Barriers and enablers, E. And qualitative, R. Let's provide source and context. SPIDER was developed by Cook, Smith, and Booth in 2012 for qualitative and mixed research method synthesis. Nairobi's SME and transformation research question align with the work of Achin and Malachi 2022. The fourth framework is PIO. The PIO framework is used for qualitative research questions about experience, such as population, who are the participants? Exposure, what is the situation? Outcome, what are the outcomes? We give an example here. Informal traders in Kano, in Ghana, P. Exposure to digital payment systems, E. Business growth and survival, O. This provides source and context. PIO frames qualitative experience research questions. Ghana's rapid mobile money uptake makes it a strong exposure context, as presented above. A key takeaway here is that using a framework for research question formulation ensures that your research question is focused and answerable. There's an evidence to this. Structured frameworks improve research question clarity and retrieval. This is fortified by the works of Meti et al. 2014 and Aromataris and Mon 2020. Let's make a self-assessment check. Which framework best fits a research question in your discipline? Let's look at literature review types in research. It should be noted that not all literature reviews in research are the same. Let's compare 4 types of literature reviews, which are: number 1, narrative literature review. Narrative literature review is a broad overview of a topic or issue of research interest. It is selective, expert-driven, and does not follow a formal protocol. When we use narrative literature review, it can be used for textbook chapters, introductions, and theory building. What is its weakness? It is associated with the risk of bias. Number 2 type of literature review is called systematic literature review. Systematic literature review is a focused, reproducible review that answers a specific research question. It follows an explicit inclusion-exclusion criteria procedure and includes quality appraisal. When does a researcher use systematic literature review? It is used for evidence synthesis, clinical guidelines, and policy decisions, among others. What's the strength of systematic literature review? It is transparent, reproducible, and comprehensive. Let's discuss major characteristics of systematic literature review, and these include: 1. It has clear, pre-specified research questions. 2. It is associated with comprehensive, reproducible search strategy. 3. It has explicit inclusion and exclusion criteria. Number 4. It involves transparent screening and selection process. Number 5. It is associated with critical appraisal of included studies. And number 6. There is a systematic synthesis of research findings. Type 3 of types of literature review is called scoping literature review. Scoping literature review maps key concepts, evidence gaps, and study characteristics. It is broader than systematic literature review, and there is no quality appraisal associated with it. When do we use scoping literature review? It is used for new or heterogeneous areas and the mapping of landscape. Its strength is that it shows breadth of research. Number 4 type of research is called rapid literature review. Rapid literature review is a streamlined systematic literature review for time-sensitive decisions. It follows simplified methods. When do we use rapid literature review? We use it for policy decisions, emergencies, and with constraints. Its weakness is that it is less comprehensive. The key takeaway about literature review in research is that you should choose your literature review type based on your research purpose, not convenience. Let's give self-assessment check here. Which literature review type is most appropriate for your research question in your discipline? We will discuss PRISMA 2020 guidelines for literature reviews in research. PRISMA, standing for Preferred Reporting Items for Systematic Reviews and Meta-Analysis, is the gold standard for reporting systematic literature reviews in research. PRISMA has two major components. Number one, a 27-item checklist, and two, a flow diagram. Shown in this slide is a flow diagram for Prisma. Stage 1 is identification, which records identified items from databases and you document the number of items identified. Stage 2 is screening. Screening records excluded items. Stage 3 is reporting. You report items that are not retrieved. You also report items sought for retrieval. Stage 4 is included, and this stage reports assess items for eligibility. It also reports items excluded with justifications or reasons. You now move to studies included, and which documents total studies included in the review. We advise researchers to record exclusion reasons at the eligibility stage for purposes of transparency. Let's present major items in Prisma, and this will include title, which identifies the title as a systematic literature review in the paper. Abstract, which provides a structured summary or abstract. Number 3 is rationale, which indicates why the review is needed. Number 4 deals with objectives, which provides a clear research question using a PICo framework. Number 5 is eligibility criteria, which provides criteria for inclusion or exclusion. Number 6 is information sources, which provides databases and dates. Number 7 is search strategy, which includes full search strings. Number 8 is selection process, which contains who screened, the selection process, and how. Number 9 is data extraction, which contains what data was extracted. Number 10 is critical appraisal, which provides quality assessment. Number 11 is synthesis, which indicates whether the synthesis narrative or meta-analytic. Number 12 is discussion, which provides interpretation and implications of the results. For full Prisma 27-item checklist, PEGETA 2021 is a good source to look for it. The Prisma 2020 statement provides a 27-item checklist to guide the transparent reporting of systematic literature reviews in research. The items are organized across 7 sections. For Global South researchers, this transparency in literature review reporting is strategic because clear reporting makes regionally grounded evidence visible and citable in global synthesis. The next slides present the 27 items, followed by examples that apply them in Global South research context. The slide you are seeing is associated with the Prisma 2020 guidelines for literature review. You have 3 columns here: section topic column, item number, and checklist item. Number one, you have the title, meaning the title has item number one. And this item identifies the report as a systematic literature review. Number two is abstract. And if the abstract has item number two, and for issues dealing with abstract, you see Prisma 2020 abstract checklist. Number three is introduction. And introduction has rationale, which is item number three. This item describes the rationale for the systematic literature review in the context of existing knowledge in the issue, problem, or question. Still within introduction, you have objectives, which is item number four. This item provides an explicit statement of the objectives or questions which the literature review paper addresses. Number four is method. A method has eligibility criteria, which is item number 5. This item specifies the inclusion and exclusion criteria for the review and how studies were grouped for the synthesis. Number 4 also has information sources, which is item number 6. This item specifies all databases, registers, websites, organizations, reference lists, and other sources searched or consulted to identify relevant studies. It specifies the date when each source was last searched or consulted. Another item under methods is search strategy. This is number 7 item, and this item presents the full search strategies for all databases, registers, and websites, including any filters and limits used. Still within methods is selection process, which is item number 8. This item specifies the methods used to decide whether a study met the inclusion criteria of the review paper, including how many reviewers screened each record and each report retrieved, whether they worked independently, and if applicable, details of automation tools used in the process. Still within methods, we have data collection process, which is item number 9. This item specifies the methods used to collect data from reports, including how many reviewers collected data from each report, whether they worked independently, any processes for obtaining or confirming data from study investigations, and where applicable, details of automation tools used in the process. Still within the methods, we have data items, which is item number 10A. This item lists and defines all outcomes for which data were sought. It specifies whether all results that were compatible with each outcome domain in each study were sought, for example, for all measures, time points, analysis, and if not, the methods used to decide which results to collect. In item number 10B, this item lists and defines all other variables for which data were sought, for example, participant and intervention peculiarities or characteristics, funding sources, etc. It describes any assumptions made about any missing unclear information. The next item is study risk of bias assessment, which is item number 11. This item specifies the methods used to assess risk of bias in the included studies, including details of tools used, how many reviewers assessed each study, and whether they worked independently, and if applicable, again, details of automation tools used in the process. Part of methods is effect measure, which is item number 12. This item specifies for each outcome the effect measures, such as risk ratio, mean difference, used in the synthesis or presentation of results. Still under methods, we have synthesis methods, which is item number 13A. This item describes the processes used to decide which studies were eligible for each synthesis. For example, tabulating the study intervention characteristics and comparing them against the planned groups for each synthesis. See item number 5 above. Item number 13B. This item describes any methods required to prepare the data for presentation or synthesis, such as handling of missing summary statistics or data conversions. In item number 13C, this item describes any methods used to tabulate or visually display research results of individual studies and synthesis. In item number 13D, this item describes any methods used to synthesize results and provides a rationale for the choices. If meta-analysis was performed, it describes the methods to identify the presence and extent of statistical heterogeneity and software packages used. In item 13E, this item describes any methods used to explore possible causes of heterogeneity among study results. For example, subgroup analysis, meta-regression, and related issues. In item number 13F, this item describes any sensitivity analysis conducted to assess robustness of the synthesized research results. In reporting bias assessment, which is item number 14, this item describes any methods used to assess risks of bias due to missing results in the synthesis arising from reporting biases. In certainty assessment, which is item number 15, this item describes any methods used to assess certainty or confidence in the body of evidence, knowledge, and outcome. Number 5 is results. And results comprises study selection, which is item number 16A. This item describes the results of the search and selection process from the number of results identified in the search to the number of studies included in the review using a flow diagram, ideally. In item number 16B, this item cites studies that might appear to meet inclusion criteria, but which were excluded, and explain why they were excluded. Under study characteristics, which is item number 17, this item starts each included study and presents its characteristics or peculiarities. In risk of bias in studies, which is item number 18, this item presents assessment of risk of bias for each included study. In results of individual studies, which is item number 19, this item for all outcomes presents for each study the following: summary statistics for each group where appropriate, and B, an effect estimate and its precision. For example, confidence, credible interval, ideally using structured tables or plots for this. In results of synthesis, which is item number 20A, this item for each synthesis briefly summarizes the characteristics and risk bias among contributing studies. In item number 20B, this item presents results of all statistical analysis or synthesis conducted. If meta-analysis was done, it presents for each the summary estimate and its precision. For example, confidence, credible interval, and measure of statistical heterogeneity. If comparing groups, it describes the direction of the effect. In item number 20C, this item presents results of all investigations of possible causes of heterogeneity among the study results. In item number 20D, this item presents results of all sensitivity analysis conducted to assess the robustness of the synthesized research results. Under reporting biases, which is item number 21, this item presents assessments of risk of bias due to missing results arising from reporting biases for each synthesis assessed. Under certainty of evidence, which is item number 22, this item presents assessments of certainty or confidence in the body of evidence for each outcome assessed. Number 6 is discussion. And under discussion, we have the following item numbers. Item number 23A, this item provides a general interpretation of the results in the context of other relevant evidence. In item number 23B, this item discusses any limitation of the evidence included in the literature review. In item number 23C, this item discusses any limitations of the review process used. In item number 23D, this item discusses implications of the research results for practice, policy, and future research. We have registration and protocol, which is item 24A. This item provides registration information for the review, including register name and registration number, or state that the review was not registered. In item number 24B, this item indicates where the review protocol can be accessed or state that a protocol was not prepared. In item number 24C, this item describes and explains any amendments to information provided at the registration or in the protocol. Under support, which is item number 25, this item describes sources of financial or non-financial support for the literature review and the role of funders or sponsors in the review. Under competing interests, which is item number 26, this item declares any competing interests of review authors. Under availability of data, code, and other materials, which is item number 27, this item reports which of the following are publicly available and where they can be found. Template data collection forms, data extracted from included studies, data used for all analysis, analytical code, and any other materials used in the review which is relevant. We want to discuss PRISMA 2020 in the Global South, and with regard to choosing the right sources. Global South evidence is often missing from sources such as PubMed, Scopus, and Web of Science. Therefore, items 6 to 7, dealing with information sources and search strategy in PRISMA 2020 guidelines, should be reported to include regional and grey literature sources such as, for Africa, African Journals Online, AJOL, and the African Index Medicus, AIM. For Latin America and the Caribbean region, LACS, SAELO. Searching LACS increases the studies retrieval on these authorities from Clark and Castro 2002. For Southeast Asia, IMSIA through the WHO Global Index Medicus. Register first. Publish the protocol on Prospero to curb duplication and reporting bias. But again, this authority is from Page et al. 2021. Let's discuss guards against bias in Global South reviews. Look at items 14, 21 to 22, the PRISMA 2020 guidelines items. Systematic literature reviews that stop at English language global databases systematically undercount Global South studies and create biases. Therefore, researchers are advised to report and assess these biases, such as language and geographical bias. Non-English and African, Asian, and Latin American studies are often invisible in global evidence. Underrepresentation. African populations were featured in only a small share of RCTs in leading medical journals during 2019 to 2024. Mitigation strategies to address the biases. Researchers are advised to search regional databases, avoid English-only filters, and document the reporting bias assessment. See item 14. Also, flag indirectness and underrepresentation. See items 15 and 22, rather than dismissing locally relevant evidences. Let's discuss Global South systematic reviews across disciplines. PRISMA guided systematic literature review studies from the Global South now span many disciplines, such as health. It's a patient safety culture, the study titled Patient Safety Culture Across African Hospitals, which are pressed with JBI tools. The author is Antimicrobial Resistant Practices in Africa. The authors are noted. For agriculture, you have climate-smart practices among smallholder maize farmers in sub-Saharan Africa and socio-technical transitions in Latin American and Caribbean farming. The authors are also noted. For education and data, you have 21st century skills teaching in sub-Saharan Africa and barriers to research data sharing in low and middle income countries. The authors are also there. Let's make a note a key takeaway. PRISMA ensures that your systematic literature review in research is transparent and reproducible. We have evidence that PRISMA adherence measurably improves reporting completeness. Let's give a self-assessment check here. Have you ever used PRISMA in research in your discipline? If not, what will you need to start using the framework? Let's discuss systematic literature review search strategy. A systematic search strategy is the foundation of a systematic literature review. Systematic search strategy in a systematic literature review entails the following steps. Step 1. It entails identifying keywords and synonyms for each PICo element. Step 2 entails combining with Boolean operators, that is and, or, not. Step 3 entails applying search filters, date limits, language, publication type, etc. Step 4 entails identifying databases such as Scopus, Web of Science, PubMed, African Journal Online, Google Scholar, etc. Step 5 entails documenting search strategy with regard to dates, search string, results, etc. Example of a search string in systematic literature review: smallholder farmer or subsistence farmer or rural farmer, and mobile money or mobile payment or M-Pesa or digital finance, and productivity or yield or income. We provide a tip to Global South researchers. They advise to add African Journal Online and Google Scholar to capture African and Grey literature, which are under-indexed by other databases such as Scopus and Web of Science, among others. We present key databases for systematic literature review, especially for the Global South. This includes Scopus, which is broad and interdisciplinary. Web of Science is core and selective. African Journal Online publishes African research works and has relevance for the Global South, especially those on the African continent. Number 4 is Google Scholar, which is broad but is limited. ProQuest dissertations for thesis and dissertations. Base has open access contents. We want to present why African Journal Online matters. This is because Global North databases are under-indexed or under-indexed African scholarship. AJOL, on the other hand, hosts several peer-reviewed African journals, thereby reducing coverage bias. Global South reviews. Key takeaway here is that researchers should document their systematic literature reviews thoroughly. It is the foundation of research replicability. We have evidence that documented reproducible searches are central to systematic review credibility, and this is associated with the work of Page et al. 2021. Want to give self-assessment check here? What databases would you use for systematic literature review for research questions in your discipline? Let's look at literature review critical appraisal tools in research. It should be noted that not all studies are created equal. Critical appraisal in literature review helps researchers to assess the quality of research works. We have quantitative tools for critical appraisal in literature, and these include JBI, that's Joanna Briggs Institute checklist for various study designs. We have number 2, Cochrane risk of bias for randomized trials, universities, randomized controlled trials. Number 3 is Robbins I, that is for non-randomized research works or studies. We have number 4, CASE-P for various study types. We also have qualitative tools for critical appraisal in literature review research, and these include JBI qualitative checklist for qualitative studies, MMAT mixed methods appraisal tool for mixed methods research works or studies, CASP, that is critical appraisal skills program for qualitative studies. It should be noted that each of these tools serves a distinct purpose in literature review. The right tool depends on the type of study or research you are evaluating. This choice matters in Global South research, where the evidence base is often dominated by observational and qualitative studies rather than randomized trials. The following slide illustrates some of the tools to use with regional examples. To help you as a researcher decide which tool to use for literature review, critical appraisal, here is a simple guidance. Number one, JBI checklist. Use this tool for a broad range of study designs such as cohort, case control, qualitative, etc. It is a versatile and method-specific option for critical appraisal in literature review. Number two is Cochrane 2. This is your primary choice if your literature review focuses on randomized controlled trials, RCTs. It is the most rigorous and specific tool for this research design. Number three is Robbins I. Researchers are advised to use this tool when they must include non-randomized studies of interventions. It is specifically designed to handle the complexities and biases inherent in these study types. Number four is CASPI. This is a good choice for educational purposes, rapid appraisal, or if you are new to critical appraisal in literature review. It offers a clear and approachable structure. It should be noted that in practice, a high-quality systematic literature review will often use multiple tools. ROB2 for RCTs and Robbins I for any included NRSI, which is a non-randomized studies of interventions. We want to give some examples of critical appraisal with regard to Global South research. In many Global South research fields, observational and qualitative studies outnumber randomized trials or quantitative studies. As a researcher, you should match the appraisal tool to the evidence base, and researchers generally advise to use the following. JBI checklist. These fit literature reviews which are pulling cross-sectional and cohort studies, such as an African patient safety meta-analysis study, the work of Mohammed and Fenter 2024. Robbins I. This is needed for non-randomized studies of interventions, which are common in Global South, where trials are scarce. For example, few registered infant trials in Kenya, Ethiopia, and Nigeria. See the work of Amboka et al. 2024. Cochrane 2. It is reserved for smaller pool of randomized controlled trials, as it is. CASP. It is used for rapid appraisal and building capacity among new reviewers. Researchers should report true choice and results transparently. Let's discuss purpose of critical appraisal in literature review research. The purpose of critical appraisal in literature review and research is not to exclude poor quality studies, though sometimes done, but to assess the strength of evidence and to explain heterogeneity. There's evidence to support this. Appraisal assesses strength of evidence and explains heterogeneity, not merely exclusion. The work of Higgins et al. 2019 supports this. Let's give a key takeaway at this stage, and that is that critical appraisal in literature review adds rigor to your review in research, and researchers are advised not to skip it. Let's make or give self-assessment check. Which critical appraisal tool for literature review would you use for research in your discipline? Let's discuss literature review synthesis in research. Literature review synthesis is where you make sense of the literature relevant to your study It is not just listing studies, but integrating them. Some forms of literature review synthesis in research include: number one, narrative literature review synthesis. Narrative literature review synthesis in research organizes research findings thematically. Specifically, narrative literature review synthesis in research organizes research findings thematically, considers direction of effects, strength of evidence, etc., explores heterogeneity, methodologically, clinical, and contextual. We provide examples of poor and good literature review synthesis. Poor literature review synthesis is stated: Study 1 found X, Study 2 found Y, and Study 3 found Z. This is poor literature review synthesis. Good literature review synthesis, on the other hand, is stated this way: 3 themes emerge from the literature, and these are: A. Direct effects of leadership on performance. B. Mediated effects via employee engagement. And C. Contradictory findings in cross-cultural contexts. There's evidence that thematic integration is preferred to over study-by-study listing. See the work of Pope et al. 2006. Number 2 is meta-analysis synthesis in literature review. Meta-analysis is a quantitative synthesis in research, but only when studies are sufficiently homogeneous or similar. Meta-analysis in literature review is associated with the following. Number 1, pooled effect sizes such as odds ratios, risk ratios, and mean differences. Number 2, forest plots which show individual and pooled effects. And number 3, I-square which measures heterogeneity. It measures the degree of inconsistency between results of different studies. And number 4, funnel plots which assesses publication bias. Example of synthesis statement in meta-analysis. A meta-analysis of 12 studies found that mobile money adoption was associated with a 15% increase in household savings. The odds ratio is 1.5 and 95% confidence interval. The I-square is 68%. Heterogeneity was partially explained by urban-rural differences. Key takeaway here is that synthesis in literature review is not listing. It is integrating relevant studies. Therefore, researchers should show the reader of their research works report what the literature means. Let's give a self-assessment check here. How would you synthesize relevant literature for a study of interest in your discipline? Let's discuss identifying research gaps via literature review in research. Identifying research gaps is one of the purposes of literature review in research. It shows where your research fits. Types of research gaps in literature review. There are 4 major types of research gaps in literature review, and they include empirical research gap, theoretical research gap, methodological research gap, and contextual research gap. Empirical research gap is about missing data or evidence on a research topic or problem of interest. Number 2 is theoretical gap. This means that existing theories do not explain the research phenomenon adequately. Number 3 is methodological gap. This means that new methods are needed to study the phenomenon of research interest. And number 4 is contextual research gap. This means that the research phenomenon has not been studied in a specific context, e.g., Sub-Saharan Africa or the Global South. Let's discuss research gap identification process in literature review. The process comprises the following. Number one, reading extensively in your discipline or research field. Number two, identifying what is known. Number three, identifying what is contested or uncertain. Number four, identifying what is missing. And number five, articulating how your research or study will fill the gap. The key takeaway here is that your research contribution is defined by the gap you fill. Let's give a self-assessment check. What is the gap your research fills in your discipline? It should be noted that with regard to the Global South, there are many contextual research gaps. Let's discuss executive decision framework regarding commissioning a literature review. For our executive audience, let's provide a framework for commissioning literature reviews. I want to discuss when to commission a literature review. Literature review should be commissioned by executives when entering a new market segment, when developing a new product, when evaluating a competitor's strategy, or when making a high-stake decision, among others. There's authority that evidence-based management reduces decision bias and invention. And this evidence can be sourced from relevant extant literature. Let's present the executive takeaway here. And that is that undertaking decision reviews of the evidence base prevents reinvention and bias. Therefore, executives should commission systematic literature reviews before launching major strategic initiatives or decisions. Let's make a self-assessment check here. Has the organization ever commissioned literature review? And if yes, what was the outcome? We want to make a thesis dissertation connection regarding what we have discussed in lecture 5. Postgraduate students are advised to consider a PRISMA-compliant systematic literature review as their thesis or dissertation's literature review chapter, or as a standalone publication. Literature review chapter checklist with regard to the following, and postgraduate students should know the following. Number one is that you should state clear research questions using PICo frameworks as discussed. You should document such strategy. Should specify inclusion-exclusion criteria, should complete the PRISMA flow diagram, should conduct critical appraisal, should present literature review synthesis, whether narrative or meta-analysis, and associated themes in relevant literature review. Should identify research gaps, should articulate the implications for your study, and should anchor the literature review chapter in PRISMA 2020. Let's give a key takeaway here, which is that a well-documented systematic literature review builds reputation and discipline in your research. It's evident that systematic literature reviews are among the most highly cited outputs across many disciplines. I want to put a parting note, and that is that researchers should grant every literature review for their research in transparent methods and Global South evidence. Self-assessment here. Does your thesis or dissertation include a systematic literature review? Let's present some questions and test your understanding of the issues discussed so far in Lecture 5. Question 1. Which framework is used for formulating quantitative intervention questions? The answer is PICo, which involves population, intervention, comparison, and outcome. Question 2. Which literature review type is comprehensive, reproducible, and follows a pre-specified protocol? The answer is systematic literature review as discussed. Question 3. The Prisma flow diagram includes which stages? The orderly stages are identification, screening, reporting, and included. Question 4 is a true or false question, and it is: a meta-analysis requires studies to be sufficiently homogeneous. The answer is true. Heterogeneous or non-similar studies shouldn't be pooled for meta-analysis. Question 5. Which type of research gap is identified when existing theories do not adequately explain a phenomenon of research interest? The answer is B, which is theoretical gap. We want to present skill builder exercise and the takeaway. And here is the task. Draft a PICo spider style literature review research question and list the databases and inclusion criteria you would use for your research interest in your discipline. A key takeaway here is that a well-formulated research question is the foundation of good literature review in research. Let's present summary of Lecture 5. And the salient points are: we explored frameworks for formulating research questions, and these frameworks are PICo, SPIDER, and PIO. We also compared literature review types, including narrative, systematic, scoping, and rapid. We discussed the PRISMA 2020 guidelines for systematic literature review. We examined literature review search strategies, critical appraisal tools, and synthesis methods. We identified 4 types of research gaps in literature, comprising empirical, theoretical, methodological, and contextual. Key concepts associated with Lecture 5 are research question frameworks, that is PICo, SPIDER, and PIO. Literature review types: narrative, systematic, scoping, and rapid. PRISMA 2020 guidelines: the 27-item checklist for transparent and reproducible reviews. Systematic literature review search and selection, which entails systematic searching, screening, eligibility, and data extraction. Literature review appraisal and synthesis. Literature review research gaps, which comprises empirical, theoretical, methodological, and contextual. We want to preview Lecture 6. In Lecture 6, we will move from literature review and research to research design, which is the general framework for your study. So stay curious, stay methodologically rigorous, yet flexible, and stay contextually relevant. Let's continue the research journey. Thank you.